Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean,
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
that's a pill with two screens and it's open and you gotta swallow it.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Nadella. I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was gonna do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I am here with Landon
Hello.
and Caleb.
Hi.
And we are here to talk all things games this week
Yeah.
because, dear listener, I don't know if you've been on vacation or not, and this is the first time you heard, but there was quite a few game announcements, lots of game things happening, and a lot of gaming companies, just games. I hope you get the point. I hope you get the point what I'm trying to cross here.
Hashtag not E3.
Hashtag. Yeah. E3 wasn't there, but boy, it felt like
not.
Yeah, technically not. There's a lot of games, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about all the games and things. And if we miss anything that maybe you were interested in, we do apologize because there's a lot.
Let me rephrase that for you, Wes. When we miss some stuff.
When we miss some things.
Or
that
when
you
we
might be
deliberately skip some stuff. Like, we're not talking about everything because there's too much. We would be here for hours.
Yes.
And we don't want to do that. You don't want us to do that. You know?
I don't
So
want
we're
to
gonna-
edit that.
No, you don't. I mean, because we could. I mean, we have opinions, and we just So I think let's go ahead. Let's get into this. Let's start. We'll kind of bring up some showcases and some games that are in the showcases. Let's go ahead and let's start real fast. We'll kind of say one of the beginning ones that happened, which was about 2 weeks ago, was actually Sony. They did a state of play.
Yes.
Which was a lot of different games that are coming to Sony. So, for example, Sony as well as Xbox and other platforms. And Sony they're going with their game plan on putting a lot of their stuff on PC. And a lot of these games that they've announced are coming to PC that may be on Sony's platform.
Yep.
A couple of things that they did also say, though, but if you are into their PSVR 2, they did announce that some of these games that they announced, for example, like Resident Evil, will have some support later on with that. So I know a lot of people are excited for the new Resident Evil 4 remake. It's a full remake.
Yep.
Did you ever get into Resident Evil?
Heck no. Heck
Did you?
no. Dedicated survival horror games? Obviously not. That is so far outside of my lane that I couldn't even be bothered. That being said, I do actually pay a decent amount of attention to the Resident Evil franchise, simply because, a lot of the people, like games journalists and stuff that I follow and pay attention to, they pay attention to it. They spend time in it, and they stream it sometimes, and sometimes the people who are not really into survival horror will stream the survival horror games, and oh my gosh, is that ever funny to watch.
Yes.
So yeah, basically what you can expect out of the Resident Evil 4 remake is essentially it will be Resident Evil 4. It will feel very much like Resident Evil 4, will be very recognizable as Resident Evil 4, but it's just going to be upscaled and redone in a new engine and with new modern conveniences. And if you've played the RE2 and RE3 remakes, you know what to expect here. It's going to feel like that, except RE4. So
I'm with Caleb. I never got into the Resident Evil. It wasn't that I was scared or anything. It was big during the GameCube era, and that's when it happened. And I never got a GameCube. World of Warcraft consumed me, so I kind of skipped a generation. We'll just say that. Blizzard happened in my life. We'll say that. But I'm like Caleb. I hear that people love it, and I hear this is going to be a big one for you. So that's going to be good.
And what kind of cracks me up is that, the Resident Evil series has kind of a cycle where they'll make a game that is really good, everybody really likes, they'll follow it up with a game that is pretty similar to it, and then they'll follow it up with a game that basically just turns it up to 11 and goes absolutely off the rails. And then they'll follow that up with games that just get progressively worse until they reboot the franchise. Well, I guess we've only seen that part of the cycle once, but we had RE2, RE3 that were like very well received survival horror games, and they took everything good about the first game and kind of refined it, and they kind of defined the genre. And then you have Resident Evil 4 that was all like, well, how do we follow that up? And they did it by turning it into a campy, schlocky B-movie horror type thing, and people loved it. Like, it's a completely different feel than the first games, like in a lot of ways, but it was still good survival horror. People ate that crap up. And then 5 and 6 turned into crappy shooters that nobody liked, and then they rebooted the franchise. And Resident Evil 7 was basically everything good people wanted out of a quality like survival horror game, very similar to RE2 and RE3. And then Resident Evil 8 Village, which there were some announcements about Village. It's coming to PC and stuff like that. That is essentially Resident Evil 4, except a sequel to Resident Evil 7 instead. It's like the campy B-movie, schlocky, kind of ridiculous stuff, but still a very good survival horror game, which I guess means that we should expect Resident Evil 9 to just be a trash fire. I think that's where we're at in the cycle, but it is kind of hilarious to me that we got Resident Evil Village and then the RE4 remake are like, they're kind of close to each other, which cracks me up because they're basically the same game in terms of like style. So,
right. Yeah,
but it's
Resident
been a
Evil
good
fans,
couple of years for you Resident Evil fans. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to love it. And that's one that PlayStation did announce that they will have PSVR content for.
Yeah.
So, cool stuff for that. Those of
be
you that have that, So, moving on, there was also Street Fighter 6. Capcom, they talked about it there, gave you a trailer of the new hero not new hero, but someone that's going to be their Guile. That's going to be there. Awesome stuff. I fell off the fighting bandwagon a long time ago, but I do respect it, and I do know there's a huge fan base, so hooray for you guys.
Man, I was never on the fighting bandwagon, so.
Well, let's be real. The bandwagon I was like, hey, my friend had Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the Super NES. That's where I was. Although I did play Tekken. I did play a lot of Tekken on the PlayStation. And
Street Fighter was fantastic.
So
the closest I ever got was having my butt kicked in Mario in what's
Super
that
Smash.
called? Smash Bros. That's the
True. Okay,
yeah,
I did play
Melee.
some Smash Bros. But...
Smash Bros. Melee. Having my butt kicked by other people on their GameCubes in Melee. That was
that was it.
That was my experience for the longest time.
One of my favorite fighter games was the Mortal Kombat on GameCube, because like it was one of your typical side by side fighting games, but you could hit someone hard enough you would switch rooms.
Oh,
and it was fantastic.
They brought up the violence on that one. I mean, that's turning it up for Mortal Kombat, which is there you go. And then and other games and stuff that were there. The Final Fantasy 16, they did quite a bit of play on that one. It's interesting. That one actually, I was interested in that one just because I like medieval, and it seemed like it was kind of going back to that medieval style from there. But I mean, that's another one of those games I'd have to decide. First of all, if it's only PlayStation, then maybe I probably won't. But if it comes to Steam, I might look at it.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure they did announce that there will be a Steam port as well.
Yeah, most of these will, because that's what PlayStation is pushing for, is for that, because they started doing that with all their other games and realized they're making lots of money. So they're like, hey, this is working.
Yeah.
So PlayStation fans, I know a lot of these were actually third party, so which means they'll come to Xbox and other platforms.
Yeah.
Everyone, it's good. It's good stuff. PlayStation did announce the stuff that will be coming to theirs exclusively. A lot of good stuff.
And it was, there's interesting stuff like, it wasn't a part of the State of Play announcement. I think it was actually the PC Gaming Show that they talked about this. And that's why it was so interesting to me that The Last of Us Part 1, which is basically just a ground up remake, not like
Yeah.
they've done a remaster of The Last of Us for PlayStation 4, because that was a PlayStation 3 game, and they did a remaster for PS4. And instead of remastering it again or just like upscaling it for the PS5, they're doing a ground up remake of it. It's basically the same game with a few minor changes and improvements and stuff. But it was just really interesting to me because The Last of Us is that's a PlayStation franchise, like that's PS whatever exclusive, always has been. But they stuck that announcement into the PC gaming show because it will be coming to Steam as well as PlayStation 5. And you can already play Last of Us Part 2 on Steam or have they just announced it's coming to Steam? I can't remember if it's already there or not. But yeah, like PlayStation is really pushing toward getting their titles onto Steam, onto PC. And I'm not sure if that's like a huge market that they're trying to exploit. It's probably a pretty good sized market, but I wonder if it's also just like the goodwill of the community. They're just trying to like, hey, look, Xbox is putting all their games on PC, but so are we. And we're doing it on Steam. You all have Steam accounts, don't you?
Personally,
yes, actually, we do.
Looking at that narrative, because you got to remember at the very beginning of this next generation, what the quote that PlayStation says is, "We believe in generations." Microsoft totally disrupting everything in this gaming industry has made Sony do a lot of interesting things. So I feel, yes, they are. But I also feel that what was one of their first, it was like, they put it on PC, one of their couple, and then they're like, wow, we made so much money, we should probably keep doing this.
Yeah. I think Horizon Zero Dawn was the first big one that they moved to PC, and then God of War right after that. And yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn sold like crazy on Steam. Absolutely.
And, to be honest, and I think it went to Epic first and then it went to Steam. Everything does that because Epic throws money at
That's
stuff.
true.
But
hopefully, listener, you're not buying anything from Epic because really just wait 3 months. It'll be on Steam, and don't support Tim Sweeney's ego. He doesn't need it.
But anyway, so what is this? It's not really saying, hey, Microsoft is making Sony do stuff. I think this is just good. I'm not, I'm just for everybody because then, I don't know, I'm over, like, I get you need the exclusives, I get that, but I mean, everybody just needs to play games and not just, I don't know. Anyway, good for everybody. Good for everybody. Okay, let's move on. I know that there was a couple little things in Jeff Keighley's, I was going to say Game Awards, Summer Game Fest on there. Did you have anything that you wanted to mention on that?
Yeah, Summer Game Fest. That's a thing that happened. I saw that it happened. I didn't actually watch it.
The one thing that I saw that came out of that was actually they talked about Cuphead's new DLC.
Right.
So all you Cuphead fans, you're getting more content with the DLC. It's more of the same. I mean, which is good. I mean, it's you get another. You do get another character, or I can't remember her name. It's something Chalice.
I'm trying to remember. So, new playable character, but it's still just 2-player co-op, right? Like, it's not. Yeah.
It's still
it's not 3-player.
They didn't
co-op
announce.
now.
They didn't announce whether it was or wasn't. So I'm assuming it's going to be the same.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would be really difficult to have to rebalance the entire game for 3 players, considering how finely tuned it is already.
Right.
And you say Cuphead fans. I feel like there's no such thing as a Cuphead fan. There are Cuphead masochists. Quite a lot of them. But I have a hard time thinking that they're really fans of what's being done to them while they're playing the game.
Yeah, I get it. It's like the Dark Souls of platforming.
It is. That is exactly it. Which is hilarious because, in terms of mechanics, it's nothing like Dark Souls. It's just really, really hard.
Well, I mean, it's you got to learn the rhythms for each boss and what they do, once you do, then you got it.
And there you go. That's how it's like Dark Souls.
Right.
It hurts to play. There you go. Good. We're happy.
So, we feel comfortable kind of moving on from
I do. Yeah. None of I processed the list of indie games that were being talked about as basically just a list of indie games. I did not associate them with specific events. There were just too many little announcements that were happening, and and I will admit I do miss that about E3. E3 was really great because everything was siloed and everything had a schedule and there was one place you could go and say, like, this is the schedule, and that was nice.
Yeah, true.
Like, if we're not going to do that, then I would much rather everybody kind of spread these announcements out a bit so that they don't all happen inside the same, like, 2-week period, because holy crap, it's just a lot going on.
There's a lot. And then, well, okay, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to move on to Microsoft and Bethesda. Speaking of a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I think they kind of had the lion's share of all of the announcements.
True. Like, so overall, I think the big key to this was Microsoft saying in the next 12 months, you're getting these games within the next 12. So from here to the next E3, basically.
Yep.
So
next summer.
That's what they were trying to push on this narrative. They came out. Oh, there's a lot of games. There's a lot of games.
Just go down the list, Will.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pick kind of the bigger ones on here, and then maybe we'll re-talk about certain things. So let's talk about Forza, shall we? So 2 announcements. First one is Forza Motorsport. So looks beautiful, looks great. Forza Motorsport is the actual
it's the simulation version. Yeah.
Yeah, the simulation of racing. So this is the die-hard car people that, you put certain air in your tire, this is going to change. I mean, it looks gorgeous. And what I find that's interesting is this engine is the same engine Fable is supposed to be using. So from what I took away from it is Fable is going to look pretty.
Yeah, they didn't really say anything about Fable, did they?
No, there's actually quite a few. They didn't say anything about Fable. They didn't say anything about Avowed. Shoot, the list has lost my head now. There's quite a few that they actually didn't say anything about that a lot of people have been waiting for. But like I said, this is what Microsoft is trying to commit and promise within the next 12 months. So maybe that's why they're that far out.
Mm-hmm.
So those of you Forza Motorsport fans, you're going to love it. I guess it's they announced that it's the main map is the map that's been there since the first Forza Motorsport, is what I gathered. So, cool. Moving on to Forza Horizon 5. They have a new DLC. It's the Hot Wheels DLC. They explored this DLC back in Horizon 3, and they brought it back here. Looks really cool. I mean, these games look fun. It's arcadey. Get some Hot Wheels up in there, and man, it's going to be fun. Next big one, real quick, is Flight Simulator. They talked about that real fast. They wanted to celebrate their 40th year, but also include Halo. So you can now fly one of Halo's, I was going to say Hawk, what is it called? Their ships in Flight Simulator. I apologize, Halo fans.
Which one of the ships?
The should have had it written
is
down.
The Banshee?
No, not the
No,
Banshee.
the Banshee's like the little scooter thing.
Pelican. The Pelican.
Pelican. Yeah.
Pelican.
Okay.
I apologize. I have it
Thank
here.
you.
But yeah, the
Like,
Pelican.
look, I'm not a Halo dude. I can't really help you.
I know. I was sitting there. I had it in my mind, and then it just vanished.
It's like, I know the Pillar of Autumn is a ship, but I'm pretty sure you're not flying that in Flight Simulator because it's like a kilometer long or something like that.
Yeah. This wasn't announced for at the show, but something I just wanted to mention. They do have a Top Gun one as well.
They do, yeah.
So you can actually get in and try and land and take off from a
aircraft carrier.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
You can do some of the low level flights that are actually in Top Gun Maverick, like in the movie that they actually do. They have courses laid out for those valleys, and you can go fly through them and stuff like that. Yeah.
And those of you that have VR support with that, that's probably going to be a good one right there. Try not to puke, I guess. Right? But okay, let's go ahead. We'll move on there. Mojang, creators the studio that makes Minecraft Dungeons. They announced another game. It's called Minecraft Legends. This is a action strategy game. The reason why I'm confused is they did a kind of a trailer and kind of gameplay, so I couldn't really understand, but basically it's the regular, they call it the overworld, is going against the netherworld. Those piglins and everything are coming in, and you got to defend the overworld. But it's hard to explain.
What baffles me is that calling it Minecraft Legends suggests that it's going to fall into the same bucket as like the Elder Scrolls Legends card game, or the like
yeah, I could see that.
Apex Legends, like where like it's a cast of characters that are these quote unquote legends, right?
Yeah.
But like, what does Minecraft have to draw on for that? You've got Steve, you've got Alex.
That's all. Those are the legends.
That's it. They're the legends.
No,
two people.
It looks interesting, but I don't know. This feels so early. Just because the trailer was a full like CG, but then they did show some gameplay, but it was different. I'm on the fence. I'm interested just because played Minecraft Dungeons. You know what's funny is this was actually teased as an RTS. No, like the leaks people were talking about. A lot of people were like, "There's another Minecraft game, and it sounds like it's supposed to be an RTS." And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel like they've run out of stuff they can actually do to Minecraft, and they're just trying to figure out how to keep all those developers busy.
It's ingenious though, because what do kids associate it with? How can you get them into other genres? Is use Minecraft. So
yeah.
It's
just
a
weird
Minecraft
because,
RTS,
like,
a Minecraft dungeon crawler. They got Minecraft Dungeons, which is a Diablo. So
this is just leading up to a version of Minecraft that's a battle royale. That's next year.
Is it
there
bad
are
at this
actually
point?
Already mods for Minecraft that will do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but at this point, if they actually announce it, I wouldn't be surprised. Just because of how Minecraft is, I wouldn't be surprised. And I like the idea that they're trying other things. I like that idea, but this is different. But,
yeah. Like I said, I think that it's the kind of thing where they don't want to lay off their team of developers because, like, Minecraft is bringing in enough money to keep them all employed. So why fire them? But also they have nothing to do. They've run out of stuff to do on the game. And so they're all like, well, just make a new game, I guess. Call it Minecraft something. Okay.
Working, right?
Yeah, they're making money. They're printing it. It's whatever.
Okay. Let's kind of go on to this next one. Well, let's talk about this. There wasn't a lot. This is a big announcement, but there wasn't anything to it. Kojima is making a game for Xbox. A cloud game. I don't know how to feel. It's just, okay.
Look, Kojima is making a game. What you must be as a gamer is excited. You're required. It's like, look, I don't want to throw shade at Kojima specifically. The dude actually does know how to develop a game. Like, he's not like David Cage, who is an auteur developer who actually wants to just make movies. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be a Hollywood director, but instead he wound up in the game industry somehow and has been making like freaking walking simulators that are basically just 6-hour-long movies that require you to interact with a QuickTime event like every 30 seconds. That's what they are. And that's the games that he made. They're not really games as much as they are just glorified miniseries that pause every 30 seconds so that you have to push a button. Yeah. So, yeah, like Kojima is not David Cage. Kojima makes these auteur kind of artistic, weird games that are games, that are interesting, have interesting mechanics and use the mechanics to try and interact with the players and the story in interesting and unique ways and stuff like that. And also occasionally there's like sniper battles in the woods where the best way to win is just to wait for a while for your opponent to die of old age. I don't know, like it's weird, but it's Kojima. So Kojima's making a new game is kind of like, yeah, cool. It's probably going to be interesting. But let's wait to actually start hyping it up until he can tell us what it's about.
Yeah.
Or even let's just wait until he can tell us whether or not Norman Reedus is going to be in it. Can we wait that long at least?
I kind of feel the move to just announce that he's making a game was, I don't know if it's for investors. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, maybe.
maybe it was something with that because,
Like, yeah,
I don't know.
It's
cool.
is Norman Reedus going to be in the game? Can we make him pee? Those are the two questions that we need answered before you can tell us whether or not Kojima is making a game. So
Friggin' A.
Xbox, you jumped the gun a little bit.
You jumped.
We need to know whether
Come on,
or not
Phil. No.
Norman Reedus will be peeing in this game.
Let's kind of go through. I'll name off. There was a lot of DLC or extended stuff here, so I'll just kind of go through the games that are already here, but they're getting some kind of DLC or something like that's on there. Like I said, with Forza Horizon 5. So Fallout 76, the Pit, that's coming. They already announced it's coming, but then again, they just announced it again. I think it's more for just to hype Fallout because that's the only thing that they talked about with Fallout at this. So I think they were just kind of keeping it rolling. People that know the Pit was a expansion to Fallout 3, was a DLC in Fallout 3. Pittsburgh is basically what it is. People really liked it, and so they're going to, in this timeline, which is before Fallout 3, they're going to go to Pittsburgh. So you may see some cameos of something or start something. It seems exciting. Grounded is announced. It's been a game preview. It is now going to be version 1.0. It's going to be released in 2022. They also talked about. I grouped that in because it's already announced on there. They also talked about Elder Scrolls Online. They talked about the new game High Isle on there. So Pete Hines talked about that on there. Those are coming to Game Pass on there. I'm sure. Well, most of these are coming to Game Pass, obviously. So you have that. Valheim, that was announced. There is a big portion of people that play Valheim.
Mm-hmm.
The announcement for this is it's coming to Game Pass, both PC and it's going to be crossplay, is what they were saying. So, yeah, cool.
Yeah,
I like that. Let's see. There was one that I thought looked really interesting, and the creators of the cartoon series Rick and Morty, I believe, made this. It's called High on Life. This looked interesting. I mean, looked cool. Obviously, when the trailer started, you just hear Morty the whole time. So
yeah,
on there. So those of us that if you are a fan of Rick and Morty, you will be a fan of this basically on there, making a game. Let's see. Moving on here. Gotham Knights. They kind of just showed a little preview, little things there, saying, "Hey, it's coming."
better be at this point.
Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. I think PlayStation actually had a little thing with Call of Duty, but then Microsoft also had a little thing saying it's coming to Modern Warfare 2. A couple of games here. So I believe this is a big move from what I've researched. I am not into a lot of the Japanese market, but Microsoft is getting Persona 5 on there, and they're Royal, and I believe a couple other games of Persona. Is that how it is? Persona 5 is a...
Persona is a franchise. Persona 5 is one of the main entries in the franchise, and then there's a couple of different spin-off groupings for Persona.
Okay.
And Persona 5 had some spin-off games from it as well.
Gotcha. So some of those are coming to Game Pass. And so a lot of people that want that. So,
because I think the Persona franchise up until fairly recently was a PlayStation exclusive.
It was not on Xbox. And so
at least outside of Japan. So that's there you go.
So there's that. They had a little thing for Hogwarts Legacy. That's that Harry Potter on there. But let's be real, a lot of this has been more. Sony has the marketing for this one. They did have a little snippet about it that it is coming to Xbox. It's just that's Slime Rancher 2. Those of you that really enjoy that, gonna get it. How do I say this? The Callisto project. This one is, I believe, is that Dead Space. Creator of Dead Space moved on and created this.
Yep.
So those of you that like the horror franchise again, a lot of people are excited for that Callisto protocol. Let's talk about the next game. A Plague's Tale Requiem. This is the continuation of the Plague's Tale.
Yep.
I can't remember the first one, but
A
lot of people like
Innocence was that.
yeah, a lot of people
the
really
first one.
like this one. So this
Yep.
is a continuation. So those of
Yeah.
you that
So this one's been on PlayStation for a while.
has it?
Yeah. So it's
I didn't realize that.
it was a PlayStation exclusive, and I think Innocence was a PlayStation exclusive too. So again, it's coming to Xbox. That's kind of big news.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that was already there. So, that's great. Gosh, there's another one that's a Japanese one. Jeez, don't kill me on this one. Naraka Blade Point.
Not
that how you say
familiar
it?
with that one.
Anyway, that one's coming. That's a Japanese one. People are waiting for that one. I wish I could say Naraka. Naraka.
Naraka,
Naraka Blade Point.
I would guess.
Okay.
I mean, I don't speak Japanese, so white guy weighing in here.
White guy. Yeah, that's how I feel. Let's go ahead. Go to Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide. They wanted to mention this new one that's coming to Game Pass. That was kind of the big. Everyone knew that one was coming, but this one's just announcing, hey, it's coming to Game Pass. Day one on there, which is really cool. If you're a fan of the Vermintide,
Yeah.
this is just same Warhammer, just in the future. So
Yeah, is it like who are they fighting on this one? Is this like the not necromongers? Dang it, that's freaking Riddick. Whatever they are in the Warhammer universe, I can't remember.
I can't
Necromorphs might be. No, Necromorphs is that's Dead Space. Oh gosh, dang it. Okay, sorry,
not sure, I'm
Warhammer
sorry.
people. I'm not one of you, but I respect your ridiculous amount of lore.
Yeah, they've been around forever. Okay, let's move on here. I'll go through. They did announce Dead Space, the remake of Dead Space. So,
yep.
Cool.
So you can get knockoff Dead Space or remade Dead Space, but no sequels to Dead Space. That's not allowed.
right. I just read here. So we were talking about Persona 5. It's also Persona 3 Portable. So
Oh,
is that
okay.
that one's coming too. So I apologize.
Yeah, I think that was a PSP thing or the Vita. I'm not sure.
We got that. They showed a little Resident Evil 4. I mean, we already knew that was coming as well. Ark Survival Evolved. That one is now Ark 2. You get to see Vin Diesel ride a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the movie or the show. Cool.
Okay.
That was.
Are you sure they weren't just showing a sneak peek of the next Fast and Furious movie? Because at this
Fast and the
point,
Furious.
I would
Yeah.
not be surprised to see Vin Diesel riding a T-Rex in a Fast and Furious movie.
That's
You're
the
right.
Fast and Furious Jurassic World
That's
crossover
it.
event.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
It's Alien versus Predator all over again.
Car versus
No.
dinosaur. Wait. Family versus dinosaur.
Family
Yeah,
versus that's
Family.
it.
Family. That's what it is. Jeez. Right. All right. Moving on to keep this rolling. So they did do a Redfall trailer. Redfall was supposed to come out this summer. They actually delayed it
Yeah.
until 2023. It looks cool. It reminds me a lot of Back 4 Blood, but with vampires, or Left 4 Dead with vampires.
Right. Yeah.
So hopefully there's some differentiation to make it
Yeah.
like it's good to copy a genre, but give it your own. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So-
I mean, to be absolutely fair, these guys, oh gosh, it's the developers behind the Dishonored games, Dishonored and and Time Loop or whatever, the Death Loop, that one. Gosh dang it, what's the developer?
Deathloop, Arcane Studio.
Arcane, that one, yes. It's like Arcane, they have a history of being very good about making, like interesting, memorable characters set in a unique setting. And even if they're cribbing their mechanics, like game mechanics from some other place, like Left 4 Dead, for instance, I still
Yeah.
feel like we're going to get a very interesting, entertaining game out of it. So,
Yeah, and that's Game Pass. That's supposed to be co-op. We're looking forward to that. Cool. let's go ahead and move something I thought was actually really cool. So Riot Games has partnered with Xbox, and so with Game Pass and PC Game Pass, you get all their games. And with all their games, so like their MOBAs and stuff, because you have Game Pass, you have all the characters unlocked.
Oh.
And so you basically are just caught up. Like, these are games that have been on their own stuff, and everything, but because if you're a Game Pass subscriber, so it's like League of Legends, and then there's League of Legends Wild Rift. I believe it's called Valorant. There's a couple other.
So
anyway,
if this allows me to play League of Legends or Valorant without having to download Riot's launcher, I might actually give those a shot.
Yeah, this is supposed to. What it says is supposed to come to PC Game Pass. Now,
That would be cool.
I don't know about the launcher. They haven't really said.
Yeah.
But this is on their 2023 timeline. So
Okay.
it'll be next year when this kind of unfolds. And I'm hoping it just stays on the Microsoft launcher, and I hope it doesn't pull an EA to where you have this weird side load thing. I'm hoping it's not. I hope you can just download Go.
Big same.
So, I mean, those Riot fans, I mean, I think this is a really big deal. So I don't play the games, but this seems really big to get all these games in PC Game Pass, to be able to have every character and not have to buy the characters. You're just in it. Like, that seems big to me. Or am I looking at this the wrong way?
I really can't offer any insight into that. The extent of my experience with League of Legends is I played it one time and kind of hated it. And then I watched their TV show and absolutely loved that. So I'm real torn. I'm real torn. On the one hand, I kind of hate the game. On the other hand, the fact that the game produced that TV show, I kind of love it. Like, I don't know. Just Riot, you confuse me.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Cool. I mean, they're partnering more stuff for Game Pass. So if you've never played Riot Games, this is a great, here's all characters.
I will admit, I am tempted to pick up Valorant. Like, Valorant is basically the Valve
Dota?
No, not the MOBA. The pew pew terrorists versus counter terrorists. No, counter terrorists win. What the freak am I trying to think of here?
Counter-Strike?
Counter-Strike, thank you.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Wow, my brain just totally died right there. We got a lot
to talk
about. You got to listen to it in real time, listener. But no, Valorant is basically Counter-Strike, but with Overwatch heroes and powers in it. And I'm like, that's interesting to me. I might try that. But,
if you get this, why not?
I give it a shot. Yeah, since I don't have to pay to unlock characters or anything. Yeah, I might actually try that.
Yeah. This next one, it looked interesting. It was called Flintlock. This reminded me of God of War, but in a different setting. So Flintlock. So the trailer showed a woman, and she was talking, and basically she's like, gods have, taken over. They rule the place, but can they be killed? And then she goes off and has some special powers, and it's a third-person view, just like God of War. There's some interesting things. It looked like she had a gun, but also sword fighting, and then she had a little companion with her. Looks interesting. I don't know. This is coming to Game Pass, 2023. Looked interesting. I mean, you can look at the trailer.
Kind of picturing U.S. Revolutionary War meets ancient Greece, and I'm all right with that combination. That seems interesting.
Xbox did a Stalker 2 little thing. They actually had the developers that are fighting a war right now. They sent in a video and kind of looked at that. If you want to take a look at that, and you can. They just kind of talked about Stalker 2. They did say that they were going to try and push for 2023 on this. But
let's hope.
Yeah, on there. So, there was this was interesting. It's called Ara: History Untold. This is a game that's coming to Game Pass. What was funny is I thought it was the next Civilization, the way that they were going through the movies, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, is this Civ? Because they were just going through history. But from what I'm gathering with this is you can change history. So it's like, what if, like, how can I explain this? It's like there's this timeline of history, so the Greeks and stuff, but then all of a sudden you have later in life the Spaniards. What happened if they took over Greeks? And it's kind of an interesting concept. I mean, if you're into like it looks like a Civilization game. It was more of a trailer. They didn't have really gameplay.
Right.
That's kind of how that's coming in 2023. Looks interesting. Should we talk about the big one? Starfield?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Let's talk about some Starfield.
I mean,
So
I'm not sure I have that much to say, honestly.
It looks okay. Like, it looks like a Bethesda game. It's Fallout in space. Not to say that that's a bad thing. I'm new to, for me, I'm new to the Fallout. Like, I started playing Fallout in Fallout 76. So that's my Fallout experience. I played some of Skyrim, kind of that, not a lot. I never beat it, but I respect it. So watching this, I think it's cool, but Starfield isn't a big seller for me. Does that make sense?
I think, like, my issue with Starfield is not really any particular issue with Starfield. It's just kind of an issue with Bethesda Game Studios' methodology. Okay. Like, for instance, the most interesting game that has been in the Fallout series since Bethesda Game Studios has taken over development of Fallout was actually Fallout New Vegas, which wasn't developed by Bethesda Game Studios. It was developed by Obsidian, who's already done Fallout in space. It's called Outer Worlds. And I'm, that's like when you say Fallout in space, that's what people think of. They think of something that is essentially exactly the Outer Worlds, which, to be fair, there's a sequel for that coming. So if you really just want Fallout in space, they got you covered. Starfield feels like a Bethesda game that Bethesda tried to take the things that they do, the things that they're good at, that have made people really enjoy the Elder Scrolls games through the years, for instance, and tried to apply that to something along the lines of No Man's Sky, where you have this gigantic, like, explorable cosmos, and a lot of it is procedurally generated because, like, freaking obviously it would have to be. I think what I would expect out of this is not going to be something that really compares with or competes with something like Mass Effect or The Outer Worlds. Like, I don't think that's what they're shooting for. But beyond that, I can't really say with any kind of confidence what it feels like they are actually shooting for. I feel like somebody just pitched the idea of, hey, space, and they rolled with it.
Yeah.
I can see that. It's hard to say. I'm not really sure how to feel about it.
It's funny, the game, or the thing that they keep calling it, is No Man's Skyrim.
Yeah. Yes. That's what it looks like, but it's hard to say what that looks like, Yeah. Like we can make these comparisons, but I, as a human being, do not understand, like, even as an amateur game designer, I don't know how I would go about trying to combine No Man's Sky and Skyrim. Like, they just don't seem compatible to me, Yeah. Like, how do you take a giant open world RPG, something like in its finest form I consider to be The Witcher 3, where every square inch of that world feels like it was custom tailored and touched by an artist, even though I know that it wasn't, right? Like, they just did such a good job of building this out such that everything felt lived in and purpose built. And how do you combine that with a game that its entire thesis statement is you will never run out of new stuff to explore because it's procedurally generated? Like, those are two very disparate ideologies, and I don't know how you combine those at all. So Starfield is interesting to me, mostly because I'm just kind of curious. Like, part of me is like, this could be amazing, or it could be one of the biggest dumpster fires since Fallout 76. Ooh. Not having a real good time there, Bethesda, are you? Sorry. I don't know.
I think if you're into, obviously, I think if you're into Bethesda games, you're gonna love it. I think if you're into the space stuff, I think you'll like it. I feel positive, but like I said, this is one that I might just kind of, what's the hubbub? Oh, this is cool, but I don't think I'll get too far.
I am interested to see what it looks like once we get it, once we actually have the chance to get in and actually do some gameplay as gamers. Because what they've shown us does not give me enough detail to understand this game at this point. So it could be awesome. It could be terrible. It was a big announcement and they put a lot of hype into it. And I just, coming out of it, really have no idea how to feel.
You're right. You hit the nail on the head. For me as well. Like, I just don't know how to feel because I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you've given me, I can build a ship. I can build my own ship and fly it and shoot stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they said that, which is cool. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't understand.
Yeah. It's like, what you have described is a game mechanic. It's not a game. Like, I mean, it could be a game, but that's not what you're showing me. What you're showing me is this is a small mechanic inside of a game. But so you've told me I can do this, but that's not the game, right? Like, what is this game? I just don't know.
Yeah, that's how I felt. You hit the nail on the head. I think that's why I felt like I don't know. Like, because is it bad that I was critiquing when I was watching it and it's like, oh look, I need to whip out this laser thing to mine this ore, and I was like, and he mined it, but I was like, there's so much more. You're not a real gamer. Get all of it. What are you doing? Anyway,
if you don't have compulsive looting habits, then you're not a real gamer.
I'm so bad at that. Like the person that did it left it, and I'm like, well, you're not cool. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I don't know what to think with it because I still don't know what it is. Like, it's in space. Yes, showed me the mechanics, but yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'll play it. Don't know.
Probably. I just don't know.
Yeah. So kind of wrapping that up a little bit. There were a lot more other little games and things like that, dear listener, and like we
don't have the time.
We don't have the time
to talk about them all.
Yes. So we're gonna move on. I'm actually gonna we're gonna move into Blizzard. Because they're obviously they were at the game show, but then later they had more stuff to talk about with Blizzard games that are coming.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first one that was shown, Overwatch 2.
Yep.
Overwatch 2, they basically just they announced the new character that's coming out, the Junker Queen.
Yep.
Gave us a trailer, kind of an Overwatch trailer, works out, and they said it's going to be early access in October.
Yeah. Well, they say they're kind of like hedging their bets. They're calling it early access, but it's open. So it's going to be essentially October 4th. It will be released.
I feel like it's just like when Overwatch came out when they're like open beta.
Well, so when Overwatch released, they had an open beta that was a weekend, and then they did a few things and released the game like a month later. Overwatch 2 they're switching. Big news, listener. Overwatch 2 is switching to a free-to-play live service model, right?
Yes. Yep.
So Overwatch 2, they're going to quote-unquote release the open beta of the free-to-play live service game on October 4th, but that is going to be an open beta to the entire public with no cost to get into it. It's basically releasing the game. They're calling it a beta so that people won't get mad at them when there's some bugs.
Well, I think to my knowledge, okay, so you can go sign up for the beta. So
they're doing a closed beta before the October date,
right? But
so that's starting in like a week, in fact, isn't it? Like, yeah, but that's coming up quick.
If you actually want access to that open beta in October, guaranteed, there is a thing you can buy. It's for $39.99. It's like Watchpoint, Overwatch Watchpoint. What this does is this guarantees the beta for you, gives you the game, I was going to say Game Pass, the Battle Pass, on there, and then it gives you some, I think it said some credits towards whatever in-game currency they're going to have, as well as a Mythic skin and a skin. So apparently there's going to be Mythic skins now.
Yep. It's basically their first like Battle Pass launch thing is you can buy into that now, pre-order essentially.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
Which
So
I
you
would
can do
say, I would say don't do that. Like personally, like I know that there's probably going to be an exclusive skin. I don't know. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I don't know. Go watch the Overwatch League. If that looks like a game you really want to play, then maybe do it because then you get some skins and stuff like that. They did say that they're going to be quote unquote transitioning the Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2 on that day, which from what I'm reading means that Overwatch 1 will cease to exist.
I was going to say that I think they're just pretty much just moving stuff to Overwatch 2.
They're converting the servers to Overwatch 2, and if you have Overwatch 1 installed, it will just become Overwatch 2. From what I understand, that means that all of your skins, all of your emotes, everything that you already have will transfer. It will all just be there in Overwatch 2. And for having the first game, they're actually going to give you a selection of exclusive skins. Like, you'll get a couple of this is for people who owned the first game. So,
you get some skins and some what is it called? Profile picture, whatever.
Yeah,
it's called.
The profile image, whatever.
So
they're doing that. That October 4th date is coming up pretty quick. This will be just the multiplayer content, obviously.
Yes.
And they have announced that they're doing a seasonal schedule for this, which means that every 9 weeks you are going to be getting a new season inside of Overwatch 2 that will come with, I think the first one they're saying is going to come with 3 new heroes and a new map. But apparently that's going to be an anomaly. Most of the time you will get a new hero or a new map. And then they'll also include some new skins and stuff like that. And if you want all of the new skins and all the new cosmetics, you can buy a battle pass every new season to get that stuff. If you don't want to do that, it sounds like you'll still be able to play the new hero on the new map. None of that's being locked away from you. But if you want all the cosmetics, that will be available via the battle pass. So that's the plan ongoing in terms of ongoing content support for Overwatch 2 following October. And then next year, sometime summer 2023, they're saying they are going to release the PvE content, the single player / co-op stuff that you can do. That is the stuff that I really wanted out of Overwatch 2. So I'm glad that they're still committing to actually delivering it.
Yeah. It'll just come later. And also, these next betas and everything, they did say it's going to be with console and PC. And they did say it's going to be full crossplay. So when I hear full crossplay, I mean, you could do ranked with that is what I'm hearing. Because right now, you cannot do ranked with combined.
I don't think the betas will actually have any ranked stuff. I think the betas are essentially just quick play. They're just stress testing the servers and the mechanics and stuff like that. In terms of the actual released game, they did not specify whether or not the competitive would be cross-platform. We'll see, but I kind of suspect not. I feel like there will still be the console queue and the PC queue, because in competitive, I feel like I'm sorry. Look, I personally am not better on a PC than the top tier console players. So like, I would absolutely like just kind of fall into the middle of the wash of people if they were to combine this.
Yeah.
But all of the top 500, like the GM players in the world would be PC players if they were to combine this, and all the console players would feel like they were getting gypped. So it's like, I dump literally 100 hours a week into this game and I still can't break top 500. Well, that's because you're using a controller and you just can't compete. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. So yeah, I suspect that will still be separate. But they did promise, obviously full cross-platform play, which we have, but cross progression as well will also be there for all of your cosmetics and your stuff, which makes sense. The game's going to be free to play. You can download the thing for free on any platform that you've got. I mean, come on. They better freaking make it cross progression.
Yeah, seriously. Like, they better. So that's good news. That's a lot for Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like,
which is nice because it's been a while. Holy crap.
So I'm actually pretty excited for it. I think it'll be good. I'm gonna dabble in it, Mystery Heroes it up, and maybe do a lot more of their PvE stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what I do. I do every once in a while. I get a wild hair, and I'm like, I wonder where I'm at in competitive. Do my 10 games or 5 games, and then I'm like, cool. And then I'm done with competitive for the season.
Yeah,
That's about it.
Yep. I'm hoping I get into this next round of the closed beta. That would be fun.
That
I
would
want to
be.
try it out.
I signed up for it for the Xbox, so we'll see.
Yep.
And if we do, we ought to do a stream.
Yeah, we can.
All right, let's talk about the next one. Diablo 4.
Yeah.
What do you think, Caleb?
Wait, did they
you
actually
watch
say
it?
something about Diablo 4? No, I didn't watch the event. No.
Oh, you didn't watch this? Oh, okay. So
Nope. I sure didn't. I watched the follow-up Overwatch event. I didn't watch like the original Blizzard like thing where they talked about all their games. They did like a separate thing for Overwatch like a few days later. I watched that. So I'm all caught up on Overwatch, but I don't know what's going on with Diablo aside from Diablo Immortal releasing, I guess.
So the first thing in that was they had a little Necromancer trailer to announce that the Necromancer will be the 5th and final starting character in Diablo 4.
All
So
right.
you have your Druid, your Barbarian, your Wizard, your Rogue, and your Necromancer.
Okay.
So
That tracks.
that's what's going to be. It sounds like that the story of the Necromancers is going to be pretty big in this one. Is rumor kind of where people are thinking the story is going to head that way. So
Yeah.
cool. You know, I mean, Diablo 2 was the destruction of the Paladins and the Zakaroon. So
Right. So yeah, like no paladin type character, no crusader, no
which
like
threw me
monk,
off. I
none
talked
of
to you this
that.
before, but this threw me off because that's what I play is like a Paladin,
Yeah.
Crusader,
It's
or
just-
Monk.
Yeah,
And I was
monks,
like, it's
no
not even
monks
there.
even.
Yeah.
I'm just
So-
really confused about that because like I'm sitting here thinking about these classes like, all right, you got the barbarian, and in terms of like martial characters, that's it. I guess shape-changing druids, those guys get pretty hand to hand, but like who's your tank in this situation? Like
Yeah.
if you're playing multiplayer and you need somebody to tank, it's a barbarian or a druid, I guess.
Yeah.
Because otherwise
Damage
you've
dealers
got
is
like
gonna be rogue and-
spellcasters, and then like DPS. Yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting thing. It was interesting when they said final, and I looked at that. I'm like, oh, now I got to decide what I'm going to play because that's just what I played. So it's,
Druid.
I tried. I don't know. I think I actually might see what the Sisterhood one is, the Rogue. See just the story.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about that. So they did a trailer that was in gameplay on Xbox Series X through the whole thing to show cool stuff. The downside of that was the stream was 1080p and it looked like crap
Yeah.
because everyone was trying to stream. So I hope it looks
Nice.
better. I didn't check it in the 4K VOD later, but I bet it looks dope. So they were just showing some gameplay stuff. It still looked good though. It's Diablo. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It kind of got me excited when I saw the druid hop off it was on a mount on a horse, hopped off the horse, but then in mid-flight turned into a bear and just mauled a group of guys. And I was like, okay, I'm a little excited about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Go ahead.
had this conversation that like Diablo 2 is an amazing game. I love Diablo 2. But the technological limitations of the time meant that some of those abilities and the powers and stuff like that the characters had in that game just did not come across the way that you wanted them to, right? Like in your head, your character always looked cooler than they did on screen in Diablo 2, at least in my head. Like playing primarily as a druid, right? Mostly summoning, but with some shape changing. I really imagine the shape changing looked better than just like kind of flashing ball of light and then a really awkward looking bear is standing there, you know? Like
it's just like it
it was just never a very cinematic experience, you know? Diablo 2 was great, but it was not cinematic. Diablo 3 kind of backtracked on a few of the gameplay mechanics from Diablo 2. They weren't quite as good, but the one thing you can't fault it for is for being more cinematic than Diablo 2. Way more cinematic, looks incredible in comparison. And I am really kind of hoping that what Diablo 4 is going to give us is like all of the mechanical purity of Diablo 2 with some of the cinematic, like, just awesomeness of Diablo 3, because, like, you know, being like, I don't know, the first character that I leveled up in Diablo 3 was a sorceress, and they have that one ability where they just shoot a beam of plasma, whatever, out of their hands, and then they have the thing that basically turns them into an Archon on top of that allows you to basically just go God mode on them. And, you know, the first time that I was playing that game and I realized I'd got myself into a bit of a pickle, I was not going to be able to kill all of the enemies that were surrounding me. And I was like, well, crap. Oh, right. I have this new ability that does a shape change, like into an Archon deity thing. And I hit the button and I turned into God, and it looked and felt just fantastic in game. It was a very cinematic, super awesome moment. And I want that kind of thing with, you know, shape changing into a bear. I want to be able to, you know, it's obviously probably not going to look like a cinematic because, you know,
Yeah.
that's kind of the one of the worst parts of playing Blizzard games is seeing the cinematics and then actually playing the game, and you're like, it's just not as good. Like, cinematics look so much cooler. Oh man, ever since the original StarCraft, I have that problem with all of their games. But yeah, so it won't be as cool as the cinematic that they showed, but I'm really hoping to get a much more, like, just awesome experience out of this while still being able to play, you know, something like the Druid that I really enjoyed playing in Diablo 2. So I'm excited. I'm excited for Diablo 4, and I think that they have the capability to stick the landing on this one. I just hope that they take the time to do it.
I think so. I think they're given a lot. They did mention that there's the customize your person. You can customize them, their look.
That'll be new.
Yeah. And they said that, I want to say they said this out there. I can't remember if they said it or if it was somewhere else. It might have been on their update they had a couple days later. But so there is going to be a linear path, but the things that's going to be generated will be the dungeons and things. So you won't have the same dungeon, but there will be, like, from this city to this city is going to be the same path, but there's going to be a dungeon will spawn somewhere, which will be a completely different dungeon for someone else.
Yeah.
So if it's like the Den of Evil, this Den of Evil is going to be different for this person, you know, and so
instead of the layout being slightly changed, but it still has, like, the exact same 100 monsters in it or whatever. Like the Den of Evil did, be like a completely fresh dungeon, completely different style and everything, which that will help replayability. And to be absolutely honest, I already think that Diablo, those games are some of the most replayable games that I've ever played. Like, I revisit them frequently.
Yeah.
So like, yes, this is something they do very well. I'm excited to see how they push it further.
It'll be good. And like I said, this is a 2023 release, but there you go. They did say this is going to be a full paid game on there. They did not. I'm going to just say, for now, it is not coming to Game Pass.
Probably not.
For now.
They need to actually buy Blizzard first.
Yep. I think once that happens there, and obviously Overwatch 2, it's free to play, so.
Right, yeah. No worries.
But those are kind of the bigger games that came onto the Xbox Bethesda showcase. They did have an extended thing on there, which, you know, kind of talked a little bit, like, obviously the Microsoft Flight Sim. They talked about a couple more extended things on certain games. So if you're looking into that, want to see kind of those trailers, you can definitely take a look. I would definitely look at the 4K stuff. A lot of people did say for, like, Skyrim, Diablo, those things, they said to look at the 4K VODs. Makes it look way better than the 1080p 60 frames that they were at. So and
buy that.
It'll probably be good. So those are kind of the big ones that were coming for this year. I would say overall it was good. A good conference, I feel. A lot of things that were, like, big that they were hyping. It's bad because these are good games. I'm excited, but a lot of them, like, my excitement was Diablo and Overwatch. So, but I understand these other games. Like, I mean, I'll probably dabble in the Forza, Hot Wheels. It'll be fun, but yeah, and the other games, I guess. But I'd say it was okay. It was a pretty good shows, and I'm glad that they stuck to hey, this is coming out in the next 12 months. These games will. So,
Yes.
which is good. So if you're a Game Pass owner, I'm going to be honest, Game Pass is just blowing up, and just alone with those Riot games that are coming and the stuff you get from that alone, that's amazing. I feel like that's pretty big. So if you want to get into those, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll just say done with the Xbox One, unless you had something else you want to talk about with Blizzard or anything else that you heard.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So that's the stuff that I had that I wanted to talk about. They also, it wasn't on the showcase, but I'll go ahead and say it just because we're talking the Blizzard or Microsoft stuff. They are updating their cloud gaming to where now it's not just Game Pass games; it's games you own.
Mm-hmm.
You just
that's good.
Stream them, which is really good. That's the service that they're going to update, and so you'll have that, which is I feel it's pretty cool. Like you can now just be like, oh, I own this. I just want to play this or get into this game. Period. And you own it, and you can just cloud it to your phone or whatever. So I thought that was cool. On there, so sure. that was announced before the showcase, but it was in this announcements of games and things that are happening. They did say that there's a performance indicator that's going to come to the Xbox Game Pass or Xbox app on PC. So it basically you'll click on a game and it'll look at what you have and be like, hey, this is going to perform at this level with your stuff.
Oh, okay.
I can't wait to get that, and then with my PC and actually see what it says about Warhammer thing on there, or newer games. I'm going to be like, this is going to say you're going to have troubles.
Probably.
It's going to be fun. I'll screenshot a few and then send them to you. But so that's good. Overall, I think Xbox did pretty good. A lot of videos, a lot of things. Like I said, Grounded. If you're a big fan of that, Obsidian. They actually had 2 other games. I can't think of those there. There's a lot of games. Each studio is just bringing up games. And like I said, they didn't talk about Fable. They didn't talk about Avowed and some other ones that, like I said, I can't remember. But there's other big ones that they have announced last year that they didn't talk about this year.
Yeah.
So
that just means they're not coming in the next 12 months. So
right.
Fair enough.
So, which is fine. And I'm sure we'll get announcements for other things and whatnot. So, but I think it's good. All right. We can move on. Caleb, you want to take over from here?
Sure, I will take over from here. Square Enix. They did I want to say a Square Enix event, but it wasn't really a Square Enix event. It was a Final Fantasy event. So Final Fantasy 25th anniversary?
25th anniversary,
like,
yep.
Of specifically Final Fantasy 7, right? Or am I crazy about the timeline of the Final Fantasy games? I feel like 25
Final
years.
Final Fantasy 7 came out in 97.
Is that 97?
It's like
is that 25 years ago? Gosh dang it. That was 25 years ago. Yeah, okay. Cool. So Final Fantasy VII was was a Final Fantasy VII anniversary specifically, which tracks because all of the stuff they were talking about was Final Fantasy VII related. The first thing is the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 is officially they've got an announced trailer. They got a name for it. It's called Rebirth. And they've also given us a timeline to expect the third part. So the remake is going to be a trilogy, and we're supposed to expect the third one sometime in I think they said 2024. So a couple of years out. So yes, there's now a trailer for that. You can go check it out on YouTube, obviously, listener, if you're really interested in what's happening there. They also announced that Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which is a prequel to the original Final Fantasy VII, which was released on the PS Vita, I believe, or was it the PSP? I can't remember.
One of the two.
One of those two?
Yeah, it was one of the two or both.
One of PlayStation's handhelds. I can't remember which one. They're remaking that, and that's going to be available on Steam. So that's kind of big news because currently Final Fantasy VII Remake is an Epic Game Store exclusive. However, they did also announce that the Final Fantasy VII Remake will be coming to Steam as well. So again, you don't have to support Tim Sweeney's ego in order to play that game, which is great. I'm a big fan of that. Love it.
Yep.
So yeah, Crisis Core remake, that's happening. It does sound from what they've said that it's not going to be a remake in, giant air quotes, the way that Final Fantasy VII remake has been a remake, where they they took the same characters and world and kind of the basic plot synopsis and then blew it up into a completely different story. I don't think we're going to be getting that. I think it is going to be a more kind of just like, it's the same game basically, but we're modernizing the mechanics and obviously redoing all of the graphics. They also announced that new content is coming for Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, which is this was the first I'd heard of that, but apparently it's like a battle royale for Final Fantasy VII. So that's
it's a thing.
I guess. I wasn't aware, but if you play that, listener, there's more content coming. Like a new character, I think, was being added. And then they also announced that the closed beta for Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is going to be happening later this year. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is sort of the mobile version of the Final Fantasy VII remake, but not quite. It is different. It's not necessarily a retelling of the same game, but they're distributing it the same way that they distributed the mobile version of Final Fantasy 15. So that's kind of what you can expect out of Ever Crisis. Closed beta again later this year. You'll be able to play it on your phones if you like to play games on your phones.
Yep. And just more Final Fantasy 7 for you.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was Final Fantasy 7. I have not played Final Fantasy 7. I watched Final Fantasy VII The Advent Children. It's a fun movie. Really enjoyed the fight sequences. But I don't know. The game, I tried to play Final Fantasy VII. That style of turn-based RPG combat really does not work for me. Don't like it. Rubs me the wrong way entirely. Like, it is basically a hybrid of everything I don't like about turn-based tabletop RPG combat and everything I don't like about real-time combat, and none of the strengths of either for me personally. So it just did not work for me. That being said, the remake obviously has a completely different combat system, so maybe I should give that one a shot, but I don't want to support Epic Games, so I guess I'll have to wait for it to come to Steam. That's where I'm landing right now with this whole thing.
You ever think that whenever someone makes an announcement going to exclusive on Epic Games Store, that Gabe Newell's like, it'll be here. It'll be here.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, you can have your year exclusive, no problem.
Especially given that at this point, Steam has pretty much, like, Valve has guaranteed Steam's relevancy for the next 15 to 20 years easily by essentially making the Steam Deck, like, quite frankly, the best portable computer that you can buy right now. In terms of price to performance, it's so much better than anything else, because obviously the hardware cost is like a console. It's subsidized. The fact that you can go pay, $300 and get an Xbox that outperforms most PCs that cost $1,000 or more, that's because the games are subsidizing the cost of the hardware. The hardware is being sold to you basically at cost.
Yeah.
Like, they're making virtually no profit off of that thing. And that's what Steam is doing with the Steam Deck. That thing is being sold basically at cost. You can get a $400 Steam Deck. I mean, okay, you can order a $400 Steam Deck. You can't get one. It will take a while before it actually gets to you. But it's just very, good job, Gabe. Valve they've really kind of knocked it out of the park with the Steam Deck. And I don't have any complaints at this point. Like, all right, I'll keep giving you money, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steam.
All right. So then the last thing, and this is the event that I did pay some attention to, but there was a lot going on. I kind of paid a small amount of attention to a lot of different things, which is why my opinions may seem shallow, listener.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
It's not just because I'm shallow, but partially. The PC gaming show. So this one I always pay attention to because we do get to see a lot of interesting indie games come out of this. And there's a few that I want to just mention. Obviously, more than this was talked about. And I believe this was some big announcements came out of the PC gaming show, like The Last of Us Part 1, as was mentioned earlier in the podcast. But this stuff I think is more interesting than some of the other big announcements. First of all, Leysara Summit Kingdom, which is essentially a city building game set in the mountains. So what's interesting about this is, like, obviously, if you've played city building games, obviously City Skylines or the Sim City, that's what it was called back when that was a thing.
Yeah.
So obviously those, but for my personal history with this lands in the Sierra interactive city builders from back in the day, like Zeus and Poseidon and Caesar, and what was the other one? Pharaoh. Yeah, like a bunch of those kind of historical based ones. It looks, very similar to that, except what you're going to be doing is you're going to be you're the kingdom of Laysara, and you've been pushed out of the lowlands, and now you need to rebuild in the mountains. And each of the mountains that you're going to be building cities on has their own unique weather conditions and resources, their own specific challenges and various layouts available to you. And then you need to kind of plan your cities, because you have to establish trade routes between them in order to actually get through the rest of the game. Your cities have to be able to work with each other. So it's an interesting take on the city builder genre, and I like it. The next, The Alters. So this is from the developer 11-Bit Studios, who are best known for the survival city builder Frostpunk, which is a very well-received, critically acclaimed indie game. If you haven't heard of it, honestly, go look it up. You can probably get it at this point for less than $10, and I feel like do that. It's a very interesting game. So The Alters is a science fiction psychological adventure game that is basically, what happens is a guy crash lands on a distant planet and finds himself stranded, unable to call for help, and with nobody around to help him, he clones himself in order to have enough bodies to do the work that needs to be done. And those are the alters, which is kind of an interesting concept. Suggests that they're going to manifest different aspects of his own personality. So definitely going to be some psychological stuff going on with this game. Very interesting concept. And something to keep an eye on.
That is interesting. I'll have to look at that one.
Yeah. There is a trailer, so you can go take a look at it. No release date for it at this point. Decarnation is an RPG. So this is it's an RPG Maker style game. So if you know what RPG Maker, the engine is, it's that style. Very interesting pixel art aesthetic and everything like that. Nothing terribly unique as far as that goes. But it is a horror game, which follows a struggling cabaret dancer named Gloria, who lives in Paris during the year 1990, and kind of goes through, it's an RPG. So you get to experience her life, her issues with her career, mental health, relationships. And then, it just kind of goes off the rails from there and turns into a survival horror RPG. So should be interesting. If you like RPGs, like 2D pixel art RPGs, I guess I should specify. This one is something to keep an eye on as well. Also, so isometric action games, tactical action games, if you like those, Demon School. So this one follows a character who's the last member of a demon hunting family, and apparently, I guess the last family as well. So it's her and her friends that are fighting humans and demons, and fighting evil, that kind of thing, while also trying to get through university. So definitely a weird kind of combination there, which is interesting because that's actually kind of what Persona is as well. We're talking about Persona earlier in the podcast. It's sort of along those lines also. So yeah, this is going to be kind of that third person tactical RPG sort of take on that style of game. So seems interesting. Immortality. So this one is an FMV, so a full motion video game where you have a whole bunch of live action video clips that have been combined into a game that you kind of interact with. So this is from Sam Barlow, who's best known for Her Story, which is another found footage, or not found footage, like a security interview footage FMV game that is very like well received, critically acclaimed indie game. Super interesting premise. And Immortality is kind of a found footage, slightly horror leaned version of that same concept. So if you like FMV games, there are not a lot of FMV games still being made, but this dude knows how to do it right. So you can stop playing the crappy FMV games out of the 90s and maybe play something new instead.
That's cool.
All right. Next, from Ion Lands, who are the developers of the exploration game Cloudpunk, is Nivalis, which is a cyberpunk life sim. It doesn't have a unique, like, it doesn't have a release date yet, doesn't really have a ton of like gameplay. What it has is an aesthetic, and kind of the pedigree of the designer. So we know sort of what, Cloudpunk was an exploration game, and we know kind of how that game felt. And we also know what the aesthetic of this cyberpunk game is essentially, as it's been shown. It's interesting. It's going to be like a life sim, so it's not necessarily going to be like a big, grand, sprawling, epic adventure like Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to be. It's going to be much more narrow, like a piece of just living in a cyberpunk city. So that sounds interesting. Check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. Scorn is a horror game inspired by H.R. Geiger. So if you know who H.R. Geiger was, then that means something to you already. If you don't, but you've seen the movie Alien, then you know who H.R. Geiger was. He's the dude that designed everything in the movie Alien. So basically the reason why the movie Alien is kind of terrifying, a lot of it is down to H.R. Geiger and his severely screwed up head. So Scorn itself, looks like it's going to be a little bit of a first person shooter type thing. Possibly with some RPG elements in there. You're going to be meeting with characters, solving puzzles, and then obviously fighting a bunch of people. And, going through new areas to access weapons in a methodology that looks kind of Metroidvania style. So it's not necessarily doing anything super crazy with its gameplay, but the visuals and the aesthetics is inspired by H.R. Geiger obviously could be pretty incredible. So if you like H.R. Geiger, this is one to keep an eye on. Gloomwood is the next one that I wanted to mention. Mostly I want to mention Gloomwood because it's from the developers of Dusk and Faith. What are they called? New Blood Interactive is the developer of that. So, these are throwbacks to classic 90s games that were extremely popular, influential games of the time period. And Gloomwood kind of carries on that tradition, being that it is a classic Dusk engine remake or throwback to the original Thief.
Cool.
You're looking for something kind of in that Thief genre, that Thief franchise, New Blood Interactive does have a pretty good track record of making spiritual successors to those classic games that feel very satisfying in the same way as those games did, but also being, more modern, and they have a lot of modern conveniences in them as well. So if you're into classic games, but you want to, not have to play in an emulator, here's one to keep an eye on. And the last one, this one, I feel like this one is important to me because it is personal. I've mentioned earlier, just in this podcast, that I'm not a big fan of horror games. I don't play horror games. The closest that I have ever come to playing an outright horror game was BioShock. Like the original BioShock is it's dark. It's tense. It's pretty scary at moments. The first time I got pinned by a Big Daddy, I was about wet my pants. Like it was that's just enough for me.
Yeah.
The BioShock games owe their existence to a series called System Shock, which consists of 2 games, one of which was very an extremely influential first person game, because it was the first person game that after it came out in 1994, I think. So just after Doom had solidified the concept of an FPS.
Yep.
System Shock comes out and is all like, okay, But what if instead of just going from level to level shooting a bunch of dudes the way that basically everything else was doing at that point, like Duke Nukem and all of those other games, System Shock was like, what if we have a story? What if we have like puzzles that you have to solve, and the way you solve them is by interacting with characters in the game? Now, you don't actually interact with any characters in System Shock. You interact with their notes and journal entries and stuff like that. But you have to go around and explore the environment and find stuff in order to figure out what you need to do next in the game in order to progress. And that, as a concept, is obviously like, that's so just plain and simple to us as modern gamers that it's like, well, obviously that's how games are. But that's not how they were. That's not how first-person shooters were in 1994, and System Shock kind of started that entire trend. System Shock 2 continued it, was just a much more heightened experience, but that one came out about the same time as, or just after, the original Half-Life. And so Half-Life kind of refined a lot of what System Shock was doing and gave us sort of the modern first-person shooter that we know and love today. So it's System Shock is a part of a pedigree that includes games like Doom and Wolfenstein 3D and Half-Life. So like it's kind of a big, it was a pretty big deal in its time. BioShock comes close to matching the same sort of feel as System Shock, but it's a very different genre. And so I'm very interested in what is, they're planning to release it this year. System Shock is getting a reboot from Night Dive Studios, who are known for updating and re-releasing Abandonware. So this is supposed to have the same characters, the same story, the same levels, the same enemies as the original System Shock, but obviously with the graphics and the controls updated to a modern standard. And I love this concept because I have tried to play, like after I played BioShock, I was like, I love this. System Shock is apparently what inspired BioShock. I want to go back and try that. And I did. And it sucked because holy crap, did they not know how to make first person shooters control back then? It's bad. It's real bad. And there's no way to remap it to be comfortable with a keyboard and mouse. And anyways, so yes, I'm very interested in this remake of System Shock.
Night Dive is good. I actually have played a few of the games they brought forward. Like one was Turok from 64.
Yes.
I actually played it on my Xbox, and it was funny because I was like, all right, here's $10. It was more paying $10 for nostalgia, but I actually went through and completed the game.
Yeah.
I was like, it felt good. It was good. I think they did Turok 2, actually. I didn't do that one, but there's quite a few of these games that they just are bringing forward.
Yeah.
And I knew they were doing System Shock, and that's really cool.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's not a surprise that they're doing System Shock because Night Dive was founded to make System Shock. Like, basically,
really? I did not know that.
The CEO of the company was all like, gosh dang it, I really want to play System Shock 2 again, but like modernized, not like a crappy version of it. And so he founded the company to basically do exactly that. And I guess they didn't start with System Shock, but yeah, here they are. And so yeah, not a surprise to anybody, but I guess what is a surprise is it's slated to be released this year. Like, it's coming.
Yeah, I think this will be good.
Yep. So yeah, those are the games that I wanted to mention from the PC Gaming Show. And that's what I had. So
nice. Now, there was another stream, Capcom, they had an event, but to be honest, listener, I forgot to watch it. So
yeah, I don't pay that much attention to Capcom. I do know that there was an expansion announced for Monster Hunter Rise. So if you like Monster Hunter Rise, then yeah, there's an expansion coming.
There you go.
I'm happy for you. I love it when expansions happen for games that I like. It's good.
Yep. It's good. So, lots and lots of games.
Oh yeah.
Nintendo didn't have a lot of a presence. They are going to do their direct later in the month, I believe.
Yeah, so we were kind of expecting Nintendo to have a Nintendo Direct sometime during the same 2-week period as everybody else, but they still haven't announced it, but they haven't announced the date that it's happening, but they have said it's happening soon. And so everyone, like, speculation is currently landing on the 29th of June. So still about a week away. So we'll see.
Yeah. So go ahead and we're going to wrap this up. But overall, there's lots of games coming.
Yep.
Games we haven't even mentioned. So, I mean, if you're a gamer listener, like, it's an exciting time with all these games that are coming that are going to be cross-play, cross-plat, that you can just sit down and just play with your friends. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So lots of cool stuff happening. I'd say overall, with the games that are coming, I think it's good. It's going to be a good year all the way to, it's going to be a good 12 months. Let's just say that.
Yep.
So, okay, unless, Caleb, you got anything else you want to talk about for the games? I think we'll go ahead and we'll move on to some news.
Yeah, I do not. I'm all set.
Okay, Landon, you wouldn't surprise us with anything with one more thing, would you?
Nope. Nope.
I just wanted to make sure you were awake.
I'll surprise everyone that I'm still here.
Yeah. By the way, Landon is here.
Yeah.
Still.
Yep.
Let's go ahead. Let's move on. I guess we'll start with a big announcement we wanted to mention. Internet Explorer is somewhat retired now. Okay, dear listener, they had been mentioning this for quite a while, that they were going to retire Internet Explorer. So the date was this last week. Was it this last week?
Yeah, it was June 16th, I think, is what they said.
Yeah. So they are losing support and service for that. They are going to keep stuff on Edge. What is the name that Internet Explorer uses? Programming. What is it called? I can't. I just had it. Anyway, basically, they're going to have an Internet Explorer. If you still need to use it, it'll be an Edge, but you'll just have to turn Edge, like turn it on the extension, or I can't think of what it's called.
Internet Explorer mode.
Yes, Internet Explorer mode. That'll work. You're going to have to turn the mode on for that. For casual people, probably wouldn't care because you're not using Internet Explorer.
Nope.
This is probably more for business side of things where people have certain apps and millions of dollars invested into these apps that use Internet Explorer. So overall, if you are using Internet Explorer, maybe it might be time to switch.
Uh-huh.
Because security reasons, number one, that'll be good.
And speed reasons, and compatibility reasons, and
yes,
and
so
all
many
the reasons.
things.
So
all the reasons.
So yeah, I mean, this is pretty big because it's been around since 95, 98.
Yeah,
Windows 98.
Like
it's like 26, just almost 27 years is how long it's been around, is what they said.
Jeez, that's crazy. It's amazing. And that's what I think. That wasn't that why they went to, the big reason why they went to court back in the 90s.
Oh yeah, that was one of them.
I remember I was listening on a different podcast, but there was a time where Internet Explorer had a 94% like market share for internet browsers.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Which is,
I could see that.
Not like Chrome doesn't even have that right now. It's like 30 or 40 or something like that. It's, nothing compared to what internet. Granted, this was back in the time when there was like 3 browsers to choose from, and Internet Explorer was by far the best one.
Yeah. Kind of crazy to think about that. I mean, yeah. So, dear listener, that's a big one. So on there. So, anyone else have anything to say about Internet Explorer? So we say goodbye.
Good riddance.
May it rest in peace.
Rest in peace. It's about time.
It was the number one browser for downloading another browser.
Yep.
True. All right. Well, that's kind of what I have talking about that. Let's go ahead and move over to Landon. Landon, do you have anything else you want to mention?
I have a couple of general tech items I want to mention. Amazon has announced their Prime Day for 2022 will be between July 12th and 13th, with certain deals actually starting as early as June 21st, strangely enough.
Whoa.
That's basically like Amazon products, like their own products. And from what I
Yeah.
understand, on that day is mostly going to be some like Fire TVs and some smaller things like that. Like none of the big thing, like the Kindle Fires and whatnot, aren't going to be on sale that day, from what I understand.
And you're talking Caleb's language here. He's going to be all about this.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Those
No,
are words.
I'm actually I always look and see what's available on Prime Day because I've gotten some pretty good deals over the years with it. I'm actually in the market of getting some new Fire tablets for my kids because the ones that they have are hot garbage. Granted,
Well, yeah, that's why they're called Fire tablets.
I mean,
Oh,
like
what
I
a
was
dad
gonna
joke.
say,
Good job.
It is Father's Day, so
Yes.
Good job.
I was going to say that, I mean, Fire tablets aren't great to begin with, but these ones are several years old at this point, so they are even worse. And the updated ones finally have USB-C for one, and have actually gotten decent reviews. So I'm looking forward to them going on sale and potentially buying some for this year.
Nice.
So, but yeah, keep an eye out, or keep your eyes peeled for different deals. Usually they announce some of these ahead of time, what they're going to be. So July 12th and 13th is Amazon's big sale day coming up.
well, you know what? If they put any Nerf guns on sale, then I might take a look.
They usually do have some on sale.
Hey, I'll be there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. My next piece of general tech news is Adobe is apparently testing a freemium web-based version of Photoshop in Canada at the moment.
Huh.
So it's obviously not going to be like a full-fledged version of Photoshop because, one, it's web-based, and two, it's free. They don't want you to have a free version of that.
Oh,
But-
heavens no.
At the moment, they're testing the idea of having this free web-based version of Photoshop that if you need to do something really quick or you don't really know what you're doing inside of Photoshop, this would be a good option to use. I still think that if you're going to use something like Photoshop, look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because you can usually buy something that's just as good for, like, you can actually buy it. It's not a subscription, and it's a lot cheaper than what Photoshop is. Granted, Photoshop is really good, and even like the subscription model, I think they've got it down to like $10 a month just for Photoshop and Lightroom,
Yeah.
which isn't horrible. If you're an actual photographer, I mean, and you're
Oh,
making
yeah. No,
money,
that's an
with
it's an
makes
easy
sense.
business expense.
Yeah, it's simple. And Photoshop is really good. But if you're just like the use it here and there type of person, don't pay for it that way. Go with like Affinity. They have really good software comparisons to Adobe's stuff.
Yeah.
And it often goes on sale for 50% off, which it's already only like $50 to begin with. So if you
Yeah.
get it for $25, it's a no-brainer. And it's a buy once and you're good to go.
I will actually say that if you are looking for just occasional use of something like Photoshop, but you can't do it on your phone, like a lot of Photos apps on phones include built-in editing tools and stuff like that. If you can't do it with that, but first check that, because odds are you probably can do what
Yeah.
you need to do. But if it's just for very occasional like photo touch-ups or edits and stuff like that, look into open source software. I'm gonna be honest, the GIMP is quite good. The interface is
Yeah.
trash. Like
I
it's
will
really
attest to
old.
that.
The interface is very old, but the tools in there are quite powerful and are frequently updated to match feature parity with Photoshop. It's kind of obtuse to use, but there's a large user base. So if you get onto some forums, you can absolutely figure out how to do everything that you need to do. And yeah, it's very good. It's the GNU image management program. what does the M stand for? I can't remember. But anyways, the acronym is GIMP, and totally look that up. Or, if you need to do like vector image stuff, then look at Inkscape, or, there's a lot of options in the open source community. So check that out before you spend money on anything, especially Photoshop.
Yeah. But like I said, if you want to try it out, they're testing this in Canada at the moment. They're looking to expand that out in the coming months. But a free web-based version of this, you do have to sign or log in with an Amazon or not Amazon, an Adobe account. So if you don't have that, you will have to get one to use this. That's kind of the catch, I guess.
Yeah.
So then they can start sending you stuff because that's what they're going to do.
They will.
But I think it's
you can uncheck that box, but they still will.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they will. I think it's a decent idea. I think it's a good idea for them, especially to get people trying out Photoshop.
Yeah.
And then if they eventually go down the road to where they need something, that's the first thing they're going to think of. I mean, it's already the first thing most people think of anyways, but especially if they've used the free version of it like this. So, but that is all of my tech news for this week.
Awesome. Good news. Caleb, do you have any other tech news you wanted to talk about today?
I don't. There was a little bit of drama about Apple and, some of the stuff that they said at WWDC. And you know what? Apple, their spin doctoring and their marketing spieling everything, and that's what they did at WWDC, and that's what they do all the time. And I'm not sure why anybody was surprised. But it turns out that the M1 is not the reason that the Stage Manager works on iPads, because some of the iPads, not many, but a few of the iPads that are listed as supported don't have the M1 in it. They have, no, sorry. There's one that does have the M1 that isn't supported. There's a catch. I can't remember what it was. Again, there's drama. It's Apple being ridiculous. And if you want to know whether your iPad is supported, go look at their website. They'll tell you. If you want to know why your iPad is supported, it's Apple. They're not going to tell you. They just make decisions and you live with it. That's how this works. Did you read the terms and conditions? Anyways, no, that's it. I don't really have any tech news.
Okay. Well, lots of gaming news. Like I said before, listener, very exciting news if you are a gamer. And if you are a gamer, you can actually check out some cool game clips that Caleb and I have made years ago at our YouTube channel. Pretty funny clips. You can see how terrible my internet service used to be, how terrible it was.
Yeah.
Mostly you're going to see gameplay from Caleb's side, but every once in a while there's a little...
Well, I tried to use your footage whenever it existed.
Yeah. Oh, I had such bad internet. But you can check these out on YouTube at Calling All Platforms Gaming if you want to check it out. But also, if you want to get a hold of us, you can also get a hold of us on our website at callingallplatforms.com. Also, our social media, you can get a hold of us on most of those, Facebook, Twitter. You can get a hold of us there. Dear listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.